Hi guys, I'm Molly, and to start off the forum tonight, my friend Lily Janady is going to be reading a poem called The Pile of Luggage.
At least a dozen bags are piled in front of me. At least a dozen bags are piled in front of me, and at least half weighed more than I did. They all look different, beaten up in their own special way. Some of the luggage is made of leather, which is fraying at the seams, and others are scratched hard plastic. The metal structure of the bag has dents in it. The worst ones are the weak fabric suitcases, with tears so large you could almost stick a small hand inside, all of them dirty and filled to the brim. A few are filled with trauma, a couple with mental illness, and some cluttered with little voices telling me I'll never be good enough. The rest are filled with my past and experiences that make me human. The train leaves in a few minutes, and all I can do is stare at this pile of luggage. I can try to carry it on my own, but I'll break my back or I'll juggle them in an awkward fashion until they tumble and spill, crashing to the floor, tinted and tattered beyond how much they already are. Maybe some will spill open, dropping a whirlwind of uncontrollable emotions and probably rage to scatter across this platform for everyone to turn from their papers and phones to watch. My little arms can only carry two, by which the time I get on the train, it will be time to leave. I hear a whistle of steam from the train. The engine begins to chug, warning any passengers nearby that the train is about to leave. I bite my lip as I listen to the passengers hurrying on, and I stare at my pile of luggage.
Thank you, Lily, and welcome to Stevenson High School's and Peer Helpers' first Mental Health Forum. Thank you all for joining us. Tonight, we'll be dedicated to the discussion of mental health in relation to the high school experience. As Lily said in her poem, we all carry luggage with us every single day. In high school, carrying this luggage can often be very overwhelming. And in order to deal with how overwhelming it is, we often don't realize that we're all stressed out. But in reality, this is not the case. The purpose of the forum tonight is to talk about mental health and the baggage we carry with us in order to break the stigma that surrounds mental health at Stevenson, as well as talk about the various supports you can find here at Stevenson and how you can support yourself.
Thank you, Molly. So because the topics we are discussing today are a sensitive subject, we want to introduce some normalities to uphold during the event. Firstly, we ask that everyone refrain from making assumptions of others' experiences to ensure a safe and healthy environment. Although talking about mental health may not be easy, it is a vital part of breaking the stigma. One thing we hope you all take away from today's forum is that when it comes to your mental health, it's okay not to be okay. And it's more than okay to talk about it. Now I'd like to welcome Jeanette Hahn to introduce our first activity.
So the purpose of our first activity, called Jubilee, is to gauge the vast range of predispositions regarding mental health that we have. Various statements will be asked to a group of participants, half students and half our teachers as well as counselors. Those who agree will sit down on stage and expound on their opinions for around 2 minutes. Afterwards, the other participants will join with them to continue the discussion to provide additional perspectives.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Alexis Lee. I'll be moderating the Jubilee activity. I would like to introduce our participants for tonight, our Stevenson counselor, Mrs. Kellogg, our Stevenson teachers, Mrs. Caloris and Ms. Lombardo, and our Stevenson students, Erin, Tyler, and Frushali. So we'll start off with our first statement of the night, which is, I have had someone not understand mental health, and it had a profound impact on me.
Okay, the person who's understood my mental health the least, if I'm going to be honest, was me. But I think that really did have a big impact on me. It really stopped me from from seeking treatment and just acknowledging that what I was feeling was actually like mental illness as opposed to just just being sad or just being nervous. It was actually, depression and anxiety. And it took me a long time to realize that. And I think that really had a big impact on me and made my first few years of high school really difficult. So I think the person who understood my mental health the least was me.
From a teacher's perspective, I see this I teach English, and so we do a lot of classroom discussions, and I know that some students are dealing with a lot of mental health issues that other students aren't very aware about. And I need to make sure I'm doing a good job facilitating that conversation and making sure every student feels safe, even though I might not know necessarily what they're going through, which could be difficult.
Coming from a family of Asian parents, I know this is something that I see in a lot of communities of color where parents aren't necessarily very understanding of mental health issues. So mine in particular don't really understand and totally understand why they haven't grown up in this culture. They don't understand what it means to have a mental health issue. But the first few years of having it, it was definitely very hard for them to even, and still is, for them to even understand what I'm going through or what my friends are going through or what mental health issues are at school. So having therapy, that's not a thing for them. That's not necessary.
Here, take this one.
Oh. Okay, so I have a very similar experience with Vishali in that being a person of color is at home it can be a difficult thing to talk to your parents, and I think that has been the hardest experience for me and my friends, because once you say something and then you feel rejected by that, oh, maybe it's all in your head or something, it's very hard to come out and tell anyone else. And I think that there's a growing sense of awareness of that, hey, maybe I need help, or this is something that I need to ask for. But with that problem of parents, and I've seen it all across my friends and myself personally, has been a difficult issue to overcome.
I think in terms of ever living with a family member that maybe has a diagnosis of depression or a mental health disorder, and that individual is not seeking treatment, that permeates your entire family and the dynamics and mindsets that are shared with you, and it makes it a difficult situation in a family when you know somebody is really struggling with an illness and not seeking help, and then the other people are left to try to push through difficult times and have a positive mindset in the face of negativity, and you just realize sometimes some hopelessness that's illustrated in the family, or some negative mindsets need to kind of be discussed so that they're evident and that you can challenge sometimes things that are presented to you in a family dynamic that you may realize that aren't that healthy for you.
And I just want to touch back on that comment that you made, Tyler, about awareness. And I think in the classroom, as an English teacher myself, it's really hard when I want to open the discussion to all these members in the classroom, but there are moments where I want to stay in the background, have them engage in the conversation, but you also have to be aware, where do I step in? Because I'm noticing students are making overstated statements that are just oh my goodness, you don't understand the other person. I need to step in. This is becoming uncomfortable, because there are some students that cannot, on their own, be open enough to be well, this isn't true. Instead, they are uptight, they get really reserved, and then they get even mad and step out of the classroom. So it's always drawing that line and being able to step in, and that's hard at times to do.
All right, thank you. Our second statement, oh yes, we will reset the activity. Give you all a minute. All right. Our second statement is, I've had to make schedule sacrifices or skip out on something important to me due to poor mental health. Wow, most of the students agree.
Well, the main schedule change that I had to skip out on was I couldn't get involved in a lot of things when I first came to Stevenson, because I'd say that the freshman year was the time where my mental health was kind of at its lowest, and so it stopped me from being able to engage in a lot of things. just because like I'd want to step out of my comfort zone and try these new clubs and stuff, but like I'd get really anxious about who is there, and I would feel uncomfortable in the room after the first time, and so I couldn't get myself to commit to a lot of things freshman year, and I feel like I still carry a little bit of that. You know, I've definitely overcome a lot of anxiety, but I think, you know, there's still a little bit of regret, like, oh, I wish I had started this, you know, freshman year. I wish I was, you know, I tried acting or, you know, Key Club or, you know, all these clubs that I had interest in freshman year that I just didn't feel able to commit to. And so I feel like I kind of missed out on that schedule-wise.
Yeah, I also felt that same way about, like, especially with friends, the hardest thing that I would have to miss out on is, like, especially these past years, on like what's good for me and what's like not good for me, just on like being around certain people that I know that like aren't true friends, can be a very difficult thing to like put yourself in and not put yourself in, and like making that decision for yourself is very difficult. But in the school level, yeah, there's definitely been like class periods or like days of school that I just need to be like, yeah, no, can't do this today. And I think I know like so many people, and like you'll see people like just like leaving school, and it's like it's a very common thing, which is very sad. But like I think knowing yourself, whether it's with friends or like needing to take a break for the day, is a very valuable thing, though.
I think this has happened for me in two different ways. First of all, like freshman year, as some of you may mention, like that was really hard for me. Like coming in, there were a lot of things going on at home, like it was a mess, and then at school, like coming into these very incredibly academically challenging classes that I just wasn't used to at all. And then like this whole Stevenson environment was just so challenging. So coming in freshman year just was a mess for me. Like that's when I look back, and I think my outlook will change as I grow older, but when I look back, freshman year just did not work out. And for those of you who know me, you guys know I like to think I work like a robot. I like to think I can do as much as I can, and even myself, I'm in denial of when my mental health, like when I have too much going on. So there will be days where I just like break down. Like there will be a period where I just can't go to class, and I'm like, Mom, wait, please don't get mad at me, counselors. Mom, I like can't go to class, call me out right now, I have to go. Or there will be instances in class when there's something like happens, like we're talking about, I guess like abusive relationships or mental illnesses, and I'll be like, oh, like I had a meeting with my counselor, I have to go, and I'll like walk out of class in the middle of class because I just can't be there. So in that way, I'm missing a very valuable educational experience that I should be there for, but I simply can't stand at the moment.
All right, thank you. We'll have some of the opinions of the people standing up. If you guys want to pass the mics to them.
So I think I'm going to start. 3 years ago, I lost my grandfather, and it was 1 a.m. that I got the call from Greece. And that morning, I was being observed by my director for 2 consecutive days. I put all my emotions to the side. I was feeling like a robot, but I had to do this. I wasn't mentally stable. I was stressed, but at the same time, I felt like I needed to be an adult. I needed to go in there, and then I hit a wall by the end of the week. And that was something that, looking back, I should have taken that time for myself, and I didn't.
Hello, does this one work? Yeah, it does, okay. It works. So the reason I did not sit down for this question originally is I actually don't like the way it's framed. I would like to give us all permission to make decisions that are healthy for us at the moment. So in terms of just like scheduling yourself and deciding what you can fit into a day's activity is an ongoing challenge where a lot of us are overscheduled, we're over-socialized, we're over-family obligationized, and there we have a lot of things going on. So I think it's a healthy decision to take some things off of your list and to say no and to give yourself private time. So that's why I didn't sit down.
I was going to say the same thing. Saying no can be powerful to family, to friends, to commitments, to sometimes even like in the office, if I'm like, oh, this is not a good time for me to plan with you because I got to take care of my own priorities, or even going home and saying no to certain things and let me do something healthy for myself. Let me meditate. Let me get an extra hour of sleep tonight. All those healthy things. Let me make a healthy meal. And I might have to say no. And I do say no a lot. I don't know if I've missed out on anything important, which is why I didn't sit down, but I have missed out on things by saying no, but I gained mental health and sanity in those moments.
All right, thank you. Our next statement is, I believe that mental illness is a social construct.
In being up here, I don't want to undermine anyone's mental illness. I just mean that like those niche illnesses that are present, anxiety, depression, PTSD, schizophrenia, the list goes on and on. I think those are incredibly real to each and every individual, but that umbrella that they're shaped in, mental illness, like that illness itself is has such a negative connotation, as that connotation of if you have a mental illness just like any other illness that's physical, if you take this treatment, if you take this specific medicine, it's over. That's not how mental illness works. And because it has such a negative connotation, I think I'm really bad at talking about my emotions, so like this is big for me. But I know most people, even at Stevenson, it's so hard to talk about your mental illness, other mental illnesses. It's something that's glossed under a rug so quickly. I just made that phrase up. But glossed under a rug so quickly that my English teacher's laughing at me. The word mental illness in itself is a social construct. That negative connotation is a social construct because no one's able to talk about it. No one's able to feel as if it's a positive thing. So I think mental health issues, or like anxiety, depression, whatever those illnesses specific are not social constructs. Those are real illnesses, but the umbrella itself is.
All right, we're running a little short on time, so if only one of you could share your perspectives, and we'll move on.
Okay. I just was really going to say exactly what you said, so that was really, really well thought out. I think mental health is a better framework than mental illness. Illness makes one feel like an outsider, like you're wrong, like you're bad in some way, and in that sense, I think has a social construct around it.
Thank you. Let's get some other perspectives.
So I definitely agree with what's been said up here about how there's a lot of stigmatizing going around like mental illness, but I think that to call it a social construct it's not something that I would do. I think that when we call things social constructs, it kind of devalues them and makes it seem like it's not really real and not something that you face outside of society. And I think that mental health is one of the main things that you face when you're on your own, like more so than any other social construct, like gender roles, social construct. But once you remove yourself from a situation with other people, you don't really face them to the same extent that mental illness, it follows you everywhere, and it's so much, like it exists so far out of society, and it hasn't changed with history. Prevalence has changed, but mental illness itself, like there was depression in the 1400s, there's depression now. It's not like, something that has changed that much with society. And so I think that to call it a social construct would, in my opinion, kind of devalue it and narrow it and make it seem, lesser than it is. And I think that the personal impact is really important to acknowledge.
Yeah, same thing.
All right. The next statement, I balance my academic or work life and social life well.
I sat down because I think I'm doing a better job. So for that's why I sat down, and I'm proud of myself because I've been teaching for 7 years, and my first year of teaching, it was all academic. And then slowly, and I think that the open space that we have in the department where we don't have cubicles and we could open and have discussions, I start to hear about other people's social life, and that slowly was like, oh, if he's able to do that, I could do that too, and maybe I could spend some time to do something for myself. So I feel like I'm getting better. By no means am I saying that I have that balance, but it has allowed me to just be more open with my colleagues and find what they notice is a balance in their life and try to include that in my life.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I don't think that you're never gonna get a perfect balance between all of these things in your life. They'll always pull you a little bit over in one direction. So I don't think that true balance is an attainable goal, but I think that I've definitely improved a lot. I think freshman year, I kind of, as a coping mechanism, focused only on academics because that was what I was good at. And it was like a form of validation. And so I think that I definitely prioritized that really high above like social stuff. And I was very isolated and didn't feel really connected to my friends. I didn't have a lot of friends, and I didn't feel connected to the friends, that I did have. And so I think that was kind of a struggle for me freshman year. And then, as I got better in my mental health, I was able to find a better balance and kind of, even if I didn't want to, take the time and, form the relationships, and they ended up paying off. And I think that peer helpers for me was definitely a big part of that, of putting me outside of my comfort zone and teaching me how to form these relationships. And now I feel like I'm very happy with where I am socially. I have a lot of friends, and, a couple of them actually came here tonight. So, I feel really like I've taken a big step in my social life, and I feel like I've managed to find more of a balance with my academic life. So I think that.
I'm so sorry. Could we have our other participants take a mic?
Yeah, so my balance is awful. Like just today, about 3 people came up to me and was like, "Tyler, you look so stressed," and I'm like, "Yeah," and they're like, "Just get rid of something." And I personally feel very invested in things, so I put myself in the situation where I'm like, yes, I have to get this done, and I have to get that done, but then it takes away from something else. So for example, me and Vrishali, we always are at Starbucks. We're the first people there. Yeah. So, and it's always if someone comes at 6, we're like, "Oh, you're late." So if that shows anything. But I think it is an important thing to acknowledge the steps that you are taking of something that you are doing well. So if I do something well, I think that should definitely be appreciated for myself. I don't expect anyone else to appreciate my personal self. So. Yeah.
I feel like such a poor example as the counselor for not sitting down right away, but I have to admit I had a transition this year, which was to a kind of different job than I've had before, and we all know that transitions are a difficult time to find balance, so I didn't feel like I could honestly sit down right away originally, but I also would like to say transitions need to be pushed through, and we know that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and when work or school or some things are really taking a little bit more of our time than we would like to give to them, I feel like you have to carve time in for those me times, those family times, and you know that they're coming. We can get through tough times, and we know there's light at the end of the tunnel.
I think anyone that knows me would say that I take on too much for myself. Everyone that knows me would say that. And I know last year, I had a bunch of interventions with my parents, with not interventions that I wanted, with my parents, with my friends, with counselors, social workers calling me in, "Rochelle, you need to get something off of your plate." And even though I do get stuff off my plate, I like to put more stuff on my plate really quickly. So I think with academics, with clubs, with college apps, school, friends, home, I definitely like to deny that I don't I like to say that I do balance my academic and social life well, and then I'll like go into Dr. Cortese's office like every 2 weeks and be like, oh my God, my life, oh my God. And then it's a reality check, but then the cycle starts all over.
All right. Our last statement for tonight is, I am aware of the resources that SHS provides to support mental health.
Yeah, I think I've definitely been able to utilize my resources at Stevenson at the point where my social worker says hi to me in the halls, they know me by name. And I think that's actually a very nice thing. But what I kind of want to speak on to that is that, considering that we all sat down and like realized the resources, if people like in the audience, that if you may not personally be experiencing something that like has to do with mental health, but like by you knowing the resources and referring a friend or just checking in on someone is a very powerful thing. Because as we talked about in the beginning, like just opening up and saying like, hey, I need help, it's a very hard thing. So like if someone feels rejected, they're less likely to open up about it again and will repress that. So like if you feel that someone may need that, one of the resources at Stevenson, I encourage you to reach out.
I would say as a counselor, I would hope I would know the mental health resources at Stevenson High School. Fire me if I don't. But anyhow, I would just like to advocate that your counselor is your #1 advocate in the school. So as parents or students, if you do not know who to call or contact, the counselor is your answer. That person can get you in touch with whoever you need to help support you. And just if you have a concern about a friend, don't worry that it's just a concern. We will investigate, we will find out things. You do not have to be involved in the situation. Just because you have a question about somebody doesn't make it true, but if you have a concern, it needs to be investigated and let us know.
I think I would definitely consider myself aware of the resources, and there's been many times throughout my academic career where I've gone to the social worker myself, or told one of my friends to go to the social worker, or said, hey, I'll get this information from you from the social worker. It's happened many times. Miss Felicity smiling because I go to her a lot. But I think that there's definitely a stigma around using the resources, even in a very open place. And I think that Stevenson is an open place. Obviously, we're hosting an event like this, so it shows that the school does have like an awareness about mental health. But I think that there's stigma even here, among the students, of people who won't go to the social worker by themselves, or just don't like getting the colored passes from the social worker. And I think that there's definitely a stigma around the resources, and I think that knowing them isn't always enough. And a lot of times we feel like we need a special circumstance or like something to go and talk to your counselor, and it's like I feel like there's still more work to be done in showing people these resources and making them more known and less stigmatized. And I don't know where that starts, but I think that that's something that needs to be focused on.
One place it could start is your teachers, your coaches, your teachers, your sponsors who you're feeling close to. Even though we might not be professionals in the mental health field, we can connect you to the people who are maybe without one of those passes coming. These 3 students obviously are connected to their social workers and counselors maybe more than others. You can talk to your teacher, and your teacher will help get that help for you or for your friend.
Going off of that, I definitely have confided in my teachers about my mental health struggles. Miss Cullen up here was my English teacher last year. We had quite a few talks. This actually started with me running up to her going, something needs to change. But going off of that, this has happened multiple times throughout the last year. I think about 3 or 4 where friends will come up to me and say, tell me stuff about their mental health or things that are going on at home that are very concerning. And if they're not comfortable talking to their social worker, then I'll go and talk to mine and say this is wrong with my friend. She's not comfortable. What should I do? Or if they don't even want the name to be up there, I'll be like, this is happening to me. What do I do? Just to get them some advice. And I know my friends and I have talked about this very recently, actually, is that like as a friend or as someone who is not a counselor, not a social worker, doesn't have any health expertise, I can't tell my friends on like what measures they should take next to improve their mental health. I can only be there to listen, provide a helping hand, a shoulder for them to cry on, etc. But I can't provide them with mental health expertise. So in that, I always encourage them to go to an expert, which are people at school.
And I just want to add that there are so many people in this building, and it comes down to at least educators, right, counselors, we are here because we love people, we love children, we love students, so it comes down to us caring. So there's no wrong person to turn to really talk about. If you feel comfortable with your English teacher, go talk to her. If you feel comfortable with your counselor, do that. There are many different types of people. I think that we could find somebody that could listen to us, really.
Thank you so much to everyone on stage for lending your time to this activity. May we give a round of applause to our participants. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you for listening to our Jubilee activity. Next, we have a panel of speakers representing various roles in the Stevenson community. Each member on the panel will first introduce themselves. The middle page of the brochure we handed out has 3 QR codes. The QR code in the middle is a link to a Google form from where you can submit any questions that you may have. Unfortunately, we won't be able to go over every single question, but you are welcome to speak with one of our speakers. All questions are anonymous. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for coming. I'm Sarah Bowen, Director of Student Services here at Stevenson.
I'm Jackie Cullen. I teach sophomore and junior English.
Hi, I'm Jen Poliski. I'm one of the social workers here.
I'm Amy Grove, and I'm a school counselor here.
I'm Jason Burgess. I'm also a school counselor.
I'm Alex Joe, and I'm a high school junior.
So we'll wait about 2 minutes for questions to come in through the QR code, but meanwhile, feel free to talk amongst yourselves.
It's like we're just by ourselves at first.
You can't see anybody. You can't see anybody.
It's just one of them. I know. Can I put on some glasses?
Ideally.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is what it feels like to be a star.
Yeah, me too.
That's probably I'm a things up there.
How's it? Can they tune them down?
Yeah. I have a hard time driving.
Boss, did you get on that microphone?
Yeah, David. Hopper. Hopper's David. I can see it in the booth.
We'll get in trouble.
Can you turn them down?
If you need extra pamphlets for questions, just raise your hand and we'll have people come by and give them to you.
I think he's trying.
Don't deal with it. I should have put a baseball hat on. I don't know if it's so bright for the other group.
I know, did they just...
I can see Mom.
I know, we could see them first.
Yeah. Did you just go? You just Easier said than done.
Yes. And it's not good when teachers say, "Are you coming?"
So do you have it in a sign slot that you can do?
Yeah, you only get 10 minutes.
That was my last school. No, we were out here in our classrooms. It's like spectating you guys. Yeah, it's like every time the buzzer goes off. Wow.
Wait, have a seizure. I'll go down.
I got you.
So our first question is, when a student is suffering but won't ask for help, what can the school do? I can repeat it.
To clarify that a little bit, do we know the student is suffering?
No.
Well, I can say, I think this is a really good thing to bring up, and I think it's part of why we're here, that what we would like is for people to start to be comfortable talking about it so they don't have to suffer alone. So there's some things we look for, right? We can tell if your grades have changed. We can tell if your behavior has changed. You have your teachers watching out for you. So sometimes we can see it and seek you out. But I think the reason we're all here together today is so we can start talking about it and not have to suffer alone. And so we just need someone to tell us, a friend, a family member, somebody, and then we can make sure that they're not suffering alone or suffering for long, hopefully.
And I would say as a teacher, one of the things that I try to do when my students come in my classroom every day is just kind of check in to see how they are. It could be just as simple as a good morning, how are things going, you look kind of tired, what's up. I think if you can reach out and develop a relationship with at least one of your teachers, more would be great. But I'm kind of, I don't want to say I'm the gatekeeper, but I'm the person that sees these kids every day about the same time to say, okay, you look really tired, how was the weekend, and so on. Where the counselors and the social workers may not see them quite as often. So if I see something that concerns me, I usually speak to the student first, and then I might alert the SST and say, you know, something seems to be troubling an individual. So that might be why you get one of those passes, just because I'm concerned.
And even to follow up on that, thank you, Ms. Cullen. Parents, if you have concerns about your students, that is always something that's appropriate for you to reach out to the student's SST about. So counselors, social workers, psychologists, we will talk with you and figure out how to best work forward in terms of supporting your student.
Sorry. No, I'd actually like to talk about the part about like someone not going out to get help, because I think that one part of Stevenson that a lot of people don't talk about is why people are so hesitant to get help. I think that in a school as integrated into academics and into extracurriculars and into all these things that like makes people feel like a part of the school community, like it can be hard for people to find help simply because they're afraid that it's going to disrupt their way of life. I know that a lot of students, including me, have sometimes been scared to reach out for help simply because they're afraid of messing up that perfect balance that they have between an academic or a social life, or they don't want to miss a class because they have a test the next day. So I feel like, especially in this school, it's important that we stress that students won't be left behind if they do go out with their like mental health concerns, or if they do have like emotional distress. I think one of the biggest things that we should focus on is making sure that people feel comfortable and feel like they like have a place to say like what they need to say without feeling like they're going to be caught behind in like the such high octane, fast-paced like school.
I love what you said about students should not feel afraid to be left behind. That was really good. And I think awareness is very important. I think what we're doing here is awesome. It might sound a little cheesy, but I got a message from a friend of mine in India. It was just a small posted card kind of a thing. It said, if you remove I and replace it with we, even illness will become wellness, which I think is kind of key. And I think awareness is important, which is, I think this is a great step.
Are classroom teachers made aware when students have mental health issues?
I could start with that. So we would not share that information with the teacher unless the student was okay with the classroom teacher knowing. We definitely have that confidentiality with the students that, anything that they share with us stays between us unless they would, if they're talking about harming themselves or harming someone else or knowing of someone that's going to harm somebody else. But if a student does not want to share the information with the teacher, we won't. We would encourage that is something that your teachers want to know about because they're there to help you as well. I think a lot of times the teachers are our eyes and ears to the students. That's when we hear a lot about kids and maybe students that they're concerned about.
Yeah, I can just add on to that. I completely agree with what Ms. Grove said, and it is up to the student and the family what we share. But in my experience, when we are able to share, again, being able to talk about it, having all your teachers be aware and be able to watch out for you and be able to be flexible, I think it ends up helping. So again, the more we communicate, the more it tends to help our students. But again, that is at the student's comfort level.
How does Stevenson High School deal with the mental health of over 4,000 students?
It's a large task, I would say. So we do, I can just start a little bit. We're blessed we have over 4,000 students, but we're also blessed to have a lot of resources and a lot of faculty and staff that are here just exclusively to support the mental needs of our students. So we have, 18 school counselors, 6 social workers, 3 psychologists, a substance abuse prevention coordinator, and even some additional staff that are truly here and dedicated to that good work around supporting mental wellness for students. So that team works really closely with one another. Every student has a student support team, so they're assigned one of those counselors, one of those social workers, and one of those psychologists that meet on a weekly basis to talk about their students, to determine how they're doing, to figure out what they might need, and to reach out to help develop action plans for students. And then our counselors and social workers and psychologists run many groups and programs and other sorts of resources and opportunities to try to support students in different types of ways.
And from a teacher's perspective, I would just say again that I think all of my colleagues, whether they're in the English department or any department, were aware of interactions with kids to see how are they, is there a student that always comes in very sullen and not talking to anybody else? That always, to me, is very concerning. Like, what is this person just particularly shy? Or is there something else going on there? So I think teachers, just by our nature, like what Christy said before, we got into this gig because we like to be around people and we like to work with high school kids, and we'd like to see the best for all of our students succeed, not just academically, like you were saying before, that balance. But academic success isn't going to matter a whole lot if you can't manage your day-to-day life.
Well, and can I add to that? I think there's a lot of things going on at the same time, but our students are also watching out for each other, and that is something that I have always been proud of here. And I think just tonight we have the peer helpers, we have fire, we have Mind Your Mind, and probably a lot of other student clubs.
Yep.
Catalyst
Yep.
is here, that are dedicated to watching out for each other and helping educate and break stigmas. So I think working together is the best way to do it, and I think the students are doing great work in that capacity as well.
I agree.
What are some of the main concerns students come to social workers or counselors about?
I think the biggest thing that comes through a lot is stress and anxiety. A lot, what you were talking about, the pressures of performing well and doing good, that image that they're supposed to carry. I know many times that a student's been in the office that they receive their first B, and that's painful, and they're so upset with themselves and the pressures that they're feeling from performing and doing well. I would say stress and anxiety is a big part of it. I wish I walked through the cafeteria and heard you guys talking about movies or books, but I'm hearing you talk about standardized test scores and grades you're getting in class, and I think that a lot of the times we're trying to pull back, but among yourselves, there's that pressure that you feel and that you take with you day to day.
Adding on to that, I think that one of the biggest things that plagues Stevenson High School in terms of mental health is the idea that students who are like high achieving don't have these types of mental health issues. A lot of the people at Stevenson like do have these issues, but they choose to keep it more locked away and kept in like their back pocket in fear of like not being able to achieve like what they've gone to like before, if that makes sense. So I feel like at least like when I go to like the counselor, I talk a lot about like my worries specifically when it comes to like college, when it comes to like standardized testing, and I feel like it's that type of like dread, that type of like anxiousness that really like pervades like the school, I guess, in terms of like just how best they can cater to like their students.
How does someone explain to an unbelieving adult that I can't just get over depression or just do something I'm anxious about?
That's a good question. Anyone? Go ahead. I think that's a hard conversation that we have with a lot of parents. And I do think it's a matter of taking the time to learn about different mental illness. Sometimes we're talking about a situation we have to get through, and sometimes we're talking about something that is chemical or biological, that you need to go to a doctor. And I think it's just having someone you can trust to have an open conversation to figure out the difference and to know when this is something that is medical and when you need to get to a doctor.
What do you say to someone who is afraid to get help?
One of the things that I would consider thinking is what's first and foremost is your own well-being. You know, push aside the test for a moment, like, oh, I didn't do well on an essay or a test. But how well are you doing with life? Because a test score is going to be one marker of who you are, but it's not the defining element of who you are. To have a healthy mind, to have the ability to manage life is going to take you much longer into life than a test score.
And I think some of it is just helping students to understand that it is okay to be struggling with your mental health, and that you can rely and should rely on help from your friends, from your teachers, from your SSTs at school, from your parents. So just kind of encouraging students to normalize some of those feelings that they're having and helping them to understand the benefits of involving other people so they're not going through that experience alone.
Which made me think of one other thing. Yeah. And Vishali and I were talking about this, I think today, that everybody has something.
Right.
Everyone in this room is dealing with something or has dealt with something at some point. And I think sometimes people who struggle think, oh, it's only me, because I don't see anybody else dealing with that. But everybody has something. We don't know what it is. I love the poem that we started with. I don't know where the poet is because I can't see her. But the luggage, thank you, the luggage metaphor was wonderful. And everybody has that, right? How well do we pack it is what we're hearing from Alex. Yeah. So.
And I would like to add to that as well. When I talk to my students, I tell them that, you know, there's the 4 years that you're here, it's not just an accident, it's not a coincidence. You're here and everyone around you is put there for a purpose. They're in the right place. And if you can develop that culture among yourselves as students in the classroom, teachers, you know, should also have a part in that. To believe that, okay, this person is in my life for a purpose. And when you see each other going through situations, you will be, again, aware of that. And to understand that, okay, this person is going to help me. To understand that there's not just reach out for help, but you know that this person is there for a purpose and to help you. And when you see your classmates or peers going through something, I would say that it becomes, and you're, again, to think that you're not there by accident. You were there to see that. You were there to help that person cross that small bridge.
Is mental health a valid reason to miss school?
Yes.
Jeez, Rochelle.
Okay, I'll agree, yes.
I think if you don't do it too often. No, I think you do. You even heard some of the staff. You've got to take care of yourself. That's why kids joke about I need a mental health day. I need some time to just focus on myself. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think if it becomes too much and too often, then we really have to look at that and see what's going on, what's happening for that individual.
Yeah, and thank you, Mrs. Grove. I think there's an important distinction between self-care, which is what I look at as a mental health day. We all need them. I think adults, not gonna lie, I'm gonna feel in my life too. There's a difference between that and sort of a pattern of missing school because a student might be struggling with anxiety or feeling behind in their classes. That's a bigger thing that's now impacting life, and that's something that we need to think through, like what's the root cause of that and how do we help a student address that so that they're not experiencing that sort of day after day after day chronic missing of school.
To add on to that, like if I have a student who just coincidentally always misses the day that we have a timed essay, that is a bigger issue, right?
Yes.
That is avoidance for the sake of, I just don't think I'll do very well. And I'm just using that as an example. It could be any sort of experience, a speech, an exam, or whatever. That is something to stop and ask yourself, well, why is it always on that day? Or that class period that, I can't go to that class. I'm going to be in the nurse's office or the counselor, or I'm just not going to go to school. So that's a moment of self-reflection, I think, and just say, my students will hear me say, it's an essay. It's not the end-all, be-all. It's one thing. So.
Right. I will confirm Miss Cullen does say that before every test.
Well, I want to just add to that real quick. And when it keeps backing up, that just adds to more of the stress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Agreed. Right. What are active ways that Stevenson High School is trying to support mental health issues?
Ooh, we have a mental health forum tonight.
Right. Yeah. Sure, I can share. I think we've taken a number of steps over the last couple of years to really try to address this issue. As Ms. Poliski said, this is a big thing for us to be talking about this openly as a school, and I think we look at this as the first of hopefully many conversations around this topic with our students and our families. We have implemented, as you may know, over the last couple of years, our Signs of Suicide program with our freshmen and junior students, and that's a depression awareness and suicide prevention program that all of our students experience twice during their high school years. Ms. LaFrancis and her team have done some great work around what we call de-stress days, so just trying to bring in some comfort puppies and other sorts of happy things to help our students around some particularly stressful times like final exams. Other work that you get, there's lots of stuff.
Oh, like the cafeteria.
Yeah.
The way that kids are eating now, I think they're taking care of themselves that way, and they're staying here on campus. Mm-hmm. They used to leave, so we're seeing kids stay around here more, and I think the later start to the day, it's not to fit in early bird classes, it's to actually sleep in and get some rest.
Mm-hmm.
I think it might be Peer Helper that does the feel good about yourself little notes that I think are fantastic. So.
That was our last question, so thank you all for giving us your opinions and your perspectives as people from Stevenson. Yes, you may.
Can I just want to add one thing for parent perspective is many times it's hard for us to admit our kids need the help. And a lot of times we'll call and say, I don't want you to tell my child I'm calling and sharing all this with you. And that causes another barrier, because I think all of us up here would say we don't want to not tell your child we're talking about this. We want to be honest with them. And a lot of the times the kids know it. Like, I think my parents are going to call you. So what I would say is as much as possible, communicate with us so we can know, and then we can have that open communication, because then that'll make your child know you're noticing, you're seeing, and that it's not just something you get over. It's something we can work as a team and fix together.
Okay, thank you for listening to the different perspectives offered by our panel. Now we're going to have Sanjivani, which is a local mental health organization, and they're going to be giving a presentation about how mental health barriers impact our community. So now please give a warm welcome to Ms. Pamela Kumar from Sanjivani.
Hi, good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing? Good. How is everyone doing? Good. Can I take this out? Yes. You must be saying, okay, good, I'm feeling great. But deep inside you must be thinking, it's Wednesday evening, 7:30, I have to listen to another talk on mental health? Oh my God, really? Do I have to? I have an exam tomorrow. I have to prepare for my test. I'm so stressed already. I'm so hungry. I have to go home. I don't have a boyfriend. I think I like someone. He's cute. Does he like me? I'm so stressed about it. I only have 2 AP classes. My friend Chandra has 4. I'm so stressed. Can I compete into it? I want to lose weight. I want to look pretty. I get so many pimples. I'm so upset. I hate myself. My parents, they don't understand me. When I go to therapy, they say, you're perfectly fine. I don't see any symptoms of mental health. Are you sure you're okay? Chandra, I can't see your mental health symptoms. Are you sure? Are you telling the truth?
I'm perfectly fine. I'm awesome. I'm on the top of the world.
Mental health doesn't show symptoms as if I would have had fever or something. Oh God. It's so stressful to go to school, so stressful to be academically competing, to do all my sports classes. I want to study arts. I don't like maths, but I have to study that. I'm so stressed. I'm so depressed. What do? I think I like Gauri, but I'm a female. Is that right? Should I be doing that? I'm so upset. Who do I talk about it? I think something is going wrong with my body. I do not know. I feel sad all the time. I cannot explain what it is. Is something wrong? Am I going crazy? No, Miss Kumar, I'm not good. I'm really not good. No, Miss Sarah, no Chandra, no Gauri, no Mari, I'm really not good. I want to speak it out loud. That is what it is. We all feign to say, we are great, we're top of the world. But really, we're all here to say, no ma'am, no sir, I think I'm not okay. And it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to be not okay. So here we are, Sanjeevani. It's a non-profit organization based out of Buffalo Grove. Yes, I'm a parent. My students have graduated from here. And what we bring is smiles to your lives. So in mythology in Sanskrit, the word Sanjeevani means the name of a herb which actually brought someone to life. Well, we cannot do it. What we can bring it is some smiles. And what are we going to talk about? Awareness. The most important thing is awareness about emotional challenges, mental well-being, and we cannot solve every problem in the world, but what we can do is decrease. We can bring in the causes, we can try to eliminate where possible. And the most important thing, the school is the biggest resource for all the help, but nonetheless, let there also be information about counselors, social workers, peer helpers, students, everywhere in the community, there is help available. So just to say what Sanjeevani does, it provides 24/7 support. Do problems come 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, from 9 to 3 in the school? No. It will start Friday evening at 6 p.m. or Saturday midnight or Sunday early morning. That is when the actual problems come. And parents can say the plumbing leakage, the electrical breakdown, the heater breakdown always happens off hours. So Sanjeevani is available 24/7 and they work on some areas such as depression, mental health concerns, emotional wellness, relationship concerns, and abuse. We'll not go over the overview. We have 30 minutes time only. But this is something I really want to share, and I've been sharing in across all schools. This was an image shared by a friend, Janet. Some kids are smarter than you, some kids have cooler clothes than you, some kids are better at sports than you. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. And what you should be doing, you have your things too. Be the kid who can get along. Be the kid who is generous. Be the good kid who is happy for others. Be the kid who does the right thing. Be the nice kid. Just to give a little brief overview of what Sanjeevani also does talk events every quarter, just a few glimpses of what has been done this year. Some of you know who she is. Some of you, she's a very popular actress from the Asian region. Her name is Deepika Padukone. And you know what happens if I say, be aware of depression, let's make sure we are taking care of you. Or if Chandra or Gauri or Mari say, you say, oh, there's another non-profit organization talking about them. But if celebrities talk, everyone listens, isn't it? So when Deepika Padukone said, the toughest part for me was that I didn't know what was happening. And once you choose hope, everything is possible. She's one of the very popular actresses. Oh, you know her, right? Of course everyone knows her, Lady Gaga. And what she says, it's okay to be not okay. And she has just started a very hugely, immensely popular teen mental health program because she understands how important it is for kids, teenagers, youth to have mental health concerns be removed. Who knows her? Everyone, Beyonce, take care of my mental health. And who knows him? Obviously, some people do know. So what I want to tell you, mental health concerns, issues can happen to anyone. Man, woman, kid, youth, senior citizens, across from the US, from Africa, from Asia, from Europe, anywhere, rich, poor, young, small, anyone. Mental health concerns go beyond boundary. So that's why we are also sharing that not only celebrities, you, me, I, anyone can have that, and it's okay that we have it. We have to just take care of it. If you can read, I'm just going to skim through. These are interviews and excerpts from some people who had gone through mental health concerns. And what they said, if I was younger, I wouldn't have bothered about the grade. I know this was also called out in the presentation. I would not have mattered if somebody did not give me 100 likes on my Facebook post. It's okay. It's okay to talk about my academic achievements. It's okay to get a C. It's okay to get a different kind of a grade. It's okay to be the average kid. It's completely okay. In the big picture of life, it really doesn't matter. So these are actual interviews and excerpts from some people who had gone through mental health concerns when they were kids, when they were youth, and this is what they had to say. And I really want to explain, go over the last part. I wish, again, teachers and parents knew that my struggles can be clearly explained in words. Sometimes emotions are so strong that they control everything I do, and I don't really have a say. In these times, please be patient with me, because I do not know what's going on with my mind. I do not know how I can give a word to the emotions which is going on. I do not know why I feel so sad. I do not know why I'm so depressed. I do not know why I want to eat so much, or I don't want to eat anything. I do not know why I want to oversleep, or I don't get any sleep at all. It's really bothering me, but I have no name to give it to you. But yes, it is something concerning me. If you see something different, please help me. Please notice this. And yes, please be patient with me. Well, we all feel sad, isn't it? Right? We all feel sad. We all go through ups and downs. But can we all say, hey, am I always depressed? Am I always under stress? No, not necessarily. What mental health, a strong mental health also provides is navigation to the complexities of life, fulfilling relationships, adapting to change, realizing their potential, having their needs met, and developing skills that help them navigate the different environments. So today here, most of the students are here. That means they had a full day of school, they participated in these activities, they set up the booth, they have to go home, probably have dinner, go over their homework. So how easy or how difficult it may be to adapt from one scenario to others. Some people adapt very easily, and some people have challenges, and that's completely okay. I can be a robot if I choose to, or I can simply say, hands off, I cannot do anything more. I just need to take a break, and it's completely okay to do that, because everyone has a different frame of physical body and a mental state. So, I think it was called out, mental health concerns can be something, a state of behavioral change, or an actual chemical imbalance. And then, in those scenarios, someone needs to actually visit a doctor. So, Mari, diabetes, as you know, what is it? It's a lack of insulin. So you have to go to the doctor to make sure you get the necessary medication. So lack of insulin results into our pancreas not working well, which results into someone becoming diabetic. Same thing applies to mental health. Sometimes it's just the chemical imbalance which results into some kind of or some form of a mental health concern. And yes, you cannot say, Chandra, you got to stand on your feet. I don't want to hear anything. Just get over your depression. Do you understand? But Chandra says, she'll say, yes, mom, yes, dad. But it's not likely to happen like that all the time. It's not a sign that Chandra is weak. It's not a sign that she's crazy. It's a state of mind due to different kind of circumstances where this is happening. These are some statistics. I'm just going to skip over that. This forum was also meant to call out about what is the difference between mental health concerns with Caucasian white versus people of color. We have seen, and statistics proves, that ethnicities such as Hispanics, African American, Asians, South Asians, they do not fully utilize the mental health resources available. They do not often talk about what is happening, or they do not come forward to report that. One of the very alarming stats is ages 15 to 24 are more likely to exhibit depressive symptoms. Last year, 2018, there were 4 reported cases of youth suicide from the Asian descent in the Chicagoland area. Very sad, very unfortunate. This year, 4 reported cases of youth having these unfortunate incidents. Very alarming. Though we cannot, we cannot revert back what has unfortunately happened, and what we can do is to prevent any more of these. Different types of mental, I know some of this was also called about. Big words, big buzzwords sometimes. Anxiety disorder, bipolar disorder, depression, eating disorder, OCD. These are buzzwords, but often these are for real. It happens, and it may happen based on different degrees of seriousness. And our team, Gauri, can answer more questions on that. Again, personality disorder, schizophrenia. These are definitely alarming. Does everyone will have this? No, not necessary. But some of these concerns may progress if mental health is not taken care of immediately. If I get a cut, if I don't take care of it, if I don't put any bandage, or if I don't clean it up, what happens? Slowly, pus is going to form. And what may happen ultimately? I may need to go to see a doctor, may need to have a surgery. So mental health concerns, if not treated or if not gotten help, may progress into serious concerns. Some more statistics. I'm just going to skip over it right now. Depression to expression. So one of the things I talked about is, well, if you understand what's going on with you, adults, youth, kids, it's easier to manage everything. If you really understand, is this depression? What is bothering me? Is this something bothering me for a day? Is it bothering me for 10 days? Is it bothering me for a month? And why do we get depressed? When things do not work your way. Why do you get upset with your parents? Because you think your parents are not understanding what you feel. Why do parents get depressed over you? Because parents think that the way your behavior is not aligned to their thinking. So that happens. So depression is simply, if things do not go your way, if things are not under your control, then such events can make you upset. Is everything in your control to manage depression? Sometimes, Gauri was coming from the city today, Gauri, our team member, and she was coming through this 290, huge traffic. And she said, I have to reach there by 6:15. And she was starting to get panicked. Then she realized this big line of cars. Can she control? No. Is that situation in her control? No, probably not, right? She cannot jump over like a superwoman. Then she said, this is causing me a lot of stress, but this situation is not in my control. So should I be getting upset? What worse can I happen? What is option B? I'll be late, that's fine. I will apologize to the team, but I can simply say that that situation was beyond her control. This was giving her a lot of stress, but she was able to manage it well. I have a test tonight. And I know that I have a test from the last 2 weeks my English teacher told me. And today it's 7:45. I think I have not prepared for it. Was this situation under my control? Yes. So now this stress is coming into me. I panic. I don't know how am I going to do it. So this situation is something it was in my control. Had I managed it well, had I taken care of it 2 weeks in advance, so my stress levels would have been less. So there are situations which is not in your control, some in your control. You do the maths and figure out what will work or what will not. Hey Mari, you know what? I'm really depressed. Are you going to help me out? Chandra, do you think you can help me? I'm feeling so depressed.
You know what? Today is his birthday. I don't want to listen to her sad stories or person, cry. No, I'm a very good person. If I hear her sad story, I will cry. I'm so sorry, Pamela. My doctor is calling. Can I talk to you later? Bye.
Yeah, you know, if I ask for help, maybe something my friends will say, oh my God, Pramila is contagious. She has depression. She is not a person I would like to be associated with. And that is why World Health Organization, they gave it a very user-friendly name. Depression is big. They call it the big black dog. So if I say, Gauri, hey Gauri, I have a big black dog I'm unable to take care of. Can you help me with that?
Sure.
Yeah, see, she's able to help me because my depression has a name now. Right? I will go over this very cool video, and if you get a chance, if you go home, search for World Health Organization, the big black dog, aka depression. So depression is not a cool word. Big black dog is a better word, isn't it? So now I tell everyone that, you know what, if I need to get help, I can simply say, I have a big black dog, I just need someone to help me with it, right? So I know I just have 10 more minutes, so let me just go over it. Thanks so much, Sarah. So please do not be stressed. We have 10 more minutes of information and awareness which is going to help you reduce stress, reduce the depression, and especially for parents also. Listen, if you are depressed because your child is not thinking like you or acting like you want him or her to do, it's okay to manage that. And vice versa, students too, all right? Yeah, the next slide, please. These are again some of the very frequent complaints, and I think the social workers team have also gone through with it. But very important to note, marked fall in school performance. It's not just an occasional C, B, or D, but a continuous performance downfall, poor grades in school in spite of trying, severe worry or anxiety, physical complaints. Most often the mental health concerns manifest into body complaints. Often you hear children, my stomach is aching, I don't want to go to school. Why does it happen every day? Is there stress of going to school? And that stress has manifested into like a stomach ache. I have a headache, I cannot go to school. I have a headache, I don't want to do these. So these are some of the physical complaints which manifest from mental health concerns. Marked changes in sleeping or eating disorder. Eating a lot, eating less. Sleeping a lot, sleeping less. Sexual acting out. Am I trying to really be that bold person? I'm not. Am I trying to impress somebody? Negative mood. Everything is bad. I hate myself. I hate my family. I hate school. I don't know what am I going to do. I think I cannot sustain anymore. I think I have to end it out. Severe mood swings. Strong worries or anxieties, such as school or socializing. Repeated use of school or of alcohol or drugs. I'm in my senior year and I think I really want to try vaping. Is that good? Is that going to cause stress? Should I be doing it? I'm depressed and stressed, anxious, if I should be using, if I should not be using. Next slide, please. And school is great. School is a place to get all our achievements, education. But we have to remember, especially kids, especially parents, that school is a full-time job. And sometimes there is stress to be able to manage all of that. There's pressure to get high grades. There's pressure to go into the best colleges. There's pressure to get scholarship. There's pressure to excel in everything, including sports, arts, and all that. Parents need to acknowledge A doesn't come that easily. A grade does not come that easily. That's a lot of hard work goes into it. So let's appreciate the hard work which goes into it. We asked a student, he had gotten C. He was very upset. And we told him, it's okay that you have gotten C. Your parents won't say anything. And you know what the kid said? Sanjeevani team, my parents have not said anything. But they have also not said, it's okay that you got a C grade this time. So parents, adults, it's also important to acknowledge whatever state the child may be in terms of academic performance. Maybe you've not said anything to say D grade, C grade, B grade, but it's okay to, put a hand on the shoulder and say, it's okay, child, you did C or D, it's okay. And that okay sometimes brings a lot of relief from unwanted stress. Social media is a big one. As I said, if I have not gotten 100 likes on a post on Instagram or any other media, I am so upset. Social media is not for real. Although we think it is, social media also is a big cause of stress, anxiety, and depression. Next slide, please. We have repeated this again, but really want to enforce and make sure that awareness is there both for kids, parents, and other adults attending, and especially children, kids. If you see any of this, please report it to your counselors, your social workers, or any adult you think so. And sometimes it may be just that it's very trivial. It's okay. I think Chandra is not eating at all. Maybe something is wrong, or maybe Chandra is just trying to lose weight. But it's okay for me to report it to an adult if I see something different in the behaviors. Next slide, please. It's not often talked about. Abuse is a big concern for depression and anxiety. And believe us when we say there's a lot of abuse also happens. Sometimes outside of school, sometimes at home, or in other places the child, the youth may be. So if there's any kind of abuse, your school, your resources are the first places to get help. Next slide, please. Next slide. The biggest thing, why, again, it was also called out, why do people not come and talk about mental health concerns or any of the issues happening? It's because of stigma and discrimination. Am I not fit enough? Have I not raised my child strong that he or she should be going to a therapist? What have I gone wrong? I came to this country from a different area to make a living. Am I not a good parent? Am I not trying to prove something? Is my child not good enough? What is the stigma? Where is the discrimination? Therapy, counseling, these are meant for rich people. Maybe the people who live in other parts of the world. Not for me. That's not true. Mental health can affect anyone. Should I be seeing a doctor? No. Why should I be? They will all know about what's going on in my family. I should not ever be going to be there. My child, you should never see a counselor because that's a no-no. What will people think about me? What will community think about me? There's a huge stigma that, Pramela's, Chandra's, Gauri's, or Mari's kid has to go to see a therapist. Or Pramela, her family has to go and see a therapist. Such a big stigma. Should we be talking about? It's okay, because your health is more important than anyone else. And any of this thing not treated brings in a lot of negative influence. Next slide, please, Sarah. One thing we always call about, and Sanjeevani meets a lot of different ethnicities, culture plays a big role. Culture plays a big role in many parts of the world. The word mental health is never ever talked about. It's something, do you really want to go to the park? Are you having some other physical ailments? The mental word is always camouflaged into different aspects of day-to-day living. So culture is very important. Having access to services and supports. Is insurance available? Is that not available? Not knowing where to start, and the confusion as to who to see. Where should I go? Should I go to the school? Should I go to a psychologist? Should I go to a therapist? Should I go to a psychologist? Who should I be going to? Just a couple more slides. We can skip this one. We can skip this one too. South Asian perspective. Yes, please. Next slide. South Asians and mental health. Because we are focusing on people of color, it's extremely important to acknowledge that stigma or discrimination or cultural beliefs can also be taken in a back seat and let health, wellness be taken the front seat. It's a big stigma, it's a big discrimination, especially from communities who have come in from South Asia, because, and especially for the children who are from South Asia with South Asian parents, it's a big stress because they often have to balance two cultures, one in the house, one in school. And this may also apply for other ethnicities who may have migrated here or who follow a different pattern. So please note, these kids, these youth, these kids have to balance a lot. The moment they step into the house, it's a different process they have to follow. Once they are in school, once they are with their friends, it's a different process, a different way they have to follow. I don't want burritos in my lunchbox. I don't want this curry to be in my lunchbox. I want a simple sandwich. Can I not get that? Small, trivial things can bring in a lot of anxiety and stress. Next slide, please. A big thing. How do I tell someone I have a problem? Find who to tell. Anyone. A trusted adult, a family member, school, your teachers, your friends, anyone. Figure out what to say. Even if it does not have a right noun or description or an adjective, just figure out. Tell them, I'm not feeling well, I feel low, I feel like just sleeping, I feel lazy. Simple things, simple words. Just figure out what to say. And the third, just say it. It's very important to speak out. It's important to just share your concerns. Next slide, please. So again, I'm going to come back. But parents do not understand. Two things to call out. Unfortunately, seeking professional help, while never a sign of weakness, our parents are adults. Please do understand this. Secondly, school is a big, big resource. Teachers, professors, coaches, and friends are great places to start. You don't have to go to a psychologist or a psychiatrist to begin with. These are your first line of help. I'm just running just a couple of minutes. And how can resources help? With what scenarios? Abuse of alcohol or drugs or abuse. Having negative thoughts like suicide, withdrawal, sadness or irritability that persists, angry feelings. I'm so angry that I have to sit here and listen to this mental health talk. It's 8 o'clock. Yeah, it's okay. 8 o'clock we're going to end, so no need to be so angry. Delusions. I have to go to an Ivy League school. I have to become Bill Gates. Well, but you know, I have studied art. Maybe I have to stick to something which I really like. Maybe join an art school, be an art teacher, maybe have an art exhibit. Have normal illusions, not delusions, hallucinations. Inability to cope, which is very, very important. Everyone has a different level of resilience to what I can do, what I cannot do. Let's not compare ourselves to Bill Gates or Superman or Superwoman. I am me, you are you. So let's concentrate on what I have. Next slide, please. Let's just skip this one. Really want to call out, and I think this is more for the resources. Mental health in the social and cultural context, there's gender role expectations. Oppression is there. There's a male privileges. There's also patriarchy. There's bias and discrimination. There's institutionalized inequality. There's law enforcement courts, there's public health issues. A lot of times there are children of different ethnicities here where they have come from going to the court, going to the police, or having a police come to their house. It's a big no-no. There's patriarchy, there is inequality. It's taking time to heal, but it's not happening right away. So these are all of the concerns which must definitely be taken into account if there are mental health concerns, and this background should be taken into care. Thanks. Just to give as to where Sanjeevani is available. Sanjeevani has 5 walk-in centers all across the Chicagoland area. It's available 24/7. Sanjeevani team of trained mental health workers, social workers, counselors also speak 15 languages. So sometimes maybe, as a child I may have problem, maybe should I ask my parents also to talk? And sometimes talking into their own language helps a lot. These are some of the addresses where Sanjeevani services are available, definitely free of cost. One more, please. Right. I think there was one more slide about this mathematics of stress. Let's see. Before that, sorry. Oh, never mind. All right, just as a parting note, how many of you study maths? Everyone, okay? So this is homework for you, okay? Depression is equal to pressure divided by resilience, okay? Pressure such as the traffic which Gauri met, pressure such as my exam today, pressure such as meeting my boyfriend tomorrow, resilience, your capacity to cope. And so, do the math today, figure out what is your depression level. Again, depression is equal to pressure divided by resilience. So, what will make depression a lower number? High resilience or high pressure? Math students? High resilience, right? So do you want a lower score of depression? Do you want a lower score of depression and stress? Yes? So what should we be building? Higher levels of resilience. So today when you go home, if there are external pressures, parental, homework, school, peers, college, whatsoever, think about it. Is the pressure something you can control or is it beyond your control? All right? First thing, figure out if the pressure is internal or external, in your control, not in your control. Then figure out your resilience. How far can I control? My mom is yelling at me because I got a B grade. What can I control? Okay? You can tell her, Mom, you know what, I'm going to study hard, or maybe this subject is something I don't really like, but nonetheless, I am doing the best in my capacity. Trying. You have not studied for 2 weeks. Something you can control, right? Or traffic, academic pressures, vaping, drugs, alcohol. Is that in your control? Choosing not to have alcohol or drugs, is that an external pressure or internal pressure? No answers. Wow. Well, anyway, you know for yourself what is the pressure that you are facing, and you also have to figure out the resilience, the capacity that you have, and that will determine how much stress you're going to have, how much depression you're going to have. With that, thank you so much, and apologize for going 5 minutes over. Thank you so much, and I hope it was beneficial. Sanjeevani team is also available outside at the table, so just in case if there's any question from parents or students, we are there to help answer anything. Thank you so much, Stevenson School, for all the... Of course.
Thank you, everyone. Just to wrap up really quickly, I'm going to go through a whole bunch of people to thank that made this evening come together. First, a big round of applause for our peer helpers who really organized this whole thing. pretty amazing. Our students impress and amaze me on a daily basis. Also, I'm really proud of our students who were part of the Jubilee and the panel for sharing their brave stories and being so transparent. Amazing. And our faculty members for taking time out of their busy days to be here tonight. Thank you all for your expertise. And then clearly Sanjavini and their amazing team, thank you for that information and those great resources about how to work with our students. And then a really, really big round of applause goes to everyone here in the audience. I appreciate your commitment to mental wellness for our students, and you are helping to take a huge step in terms of reducing the stigma around mental illness, and that's really half the battle for sure. I think just to kind of summarize the important messages that we heard here tonight, it is okay not to be okay. I love that, and we heard that in a couple different contexts. And most importantly, when you're not feeling okay or you're worried about somebody else in your life that's not feeling okay, we need to talk about that, right? We need to get that out there, and we need to connect those folks to the adults and the resources, both here and in our community, that are experts in terms of helping with those issues. So thank you to everyone who was a part of this. Let me just forget. Oh my gosh, I did. Also, Catalyst, Mind Your Mind, FIRE, our other amazing groups that partnered with peer helpers to make this happen. Thank you to all of those amazing students as well. And I think I got it. Okay. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening. We appreciate you coming and taking your time.